Everything looks good. We're live on YouTube. Let me know if there's anything I can do.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Welcome to the Lyon Township Planning Commission meeting for Monday, February 8th, 2021. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
and
with
with liberty and justice for all.
for all. All right, very good. Kelly, if you take roll, please.
Sure. Patricia Carconi,
Present in Lyon Township, Michigan.
Jim Check,
President, Lyon Township, Michigan.
Michael Conflitti,
Here, Lyon Township, Michigan.
Bronco Mitkowski,
Present, Lyon Township, Michigan.
Ron Pennington, Ron Pennington,
Just here, we lost him. Oh, there he is.
he's there.
He's talking.
Well,
can't
I
hear.
see that you're here.
There
No,
he
I'm
is.
not hearing you.
Say something, Ryan.
Yep. Now I can hear you.
I'm present in Lyon Township, Michigan.
Got it.
Thank you. And Carl Town.
I'm here in Lyon Township, Michigan.
Okay. We'll need to excuse Mr. Radke.
Motion
So
to
moved.
excuse. Support.
Motion by Carl, support by Mr. Chuck.
Correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay. Approval of tonight's agenda.
Motion to approve if there are no changes.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Chuck, support by Mr. Town. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Approval of consent agenda, January 25th, 2021 minutes.
And make a motion to approve as submitted.
Support.
Okay. Approved by Mr. Town, support by Mr. Chuck. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Comments from the public. Rob, do we have anyone?
There are no members of the public on the line tonight.
Okay. Okay. All right. Tina, I'm assuming Tina's not here. Okay, let's get started. New business, AP 1757, Greystone Village. Plan development, final review. Brian?
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to pop the plans up on the screen for the normal procedure here. You may recall this project being called Lyon Station in a former life at the preliminary phase. This is the final phase of the PD, which is now being called Greystone. The project itself is 37 single-family homes on just under 29 acres on the east side of Griswold Road. Directly to the south is Estates at Hutsfield, and directly to the north is the railroad track, but north of that is vacant land and the township's new water tower. So to orient you, that's where we are talking this evening. We noted in our review there are a couple challenges with the site specifically. Mentioned the railroad tracks, but there's also a large area of regulated wetland in the middle of the site. There are residences to the south, vacant to the north, but this land is the last remaining portion of industrial land on industrially zoned land along Griswold Roads, now south of 9 Mile Road. And so in considering this plan development, we are essentially changing the uses from industrial to residential. This is in line with the future land use plan, so we have no concerns when it comes to that change. And as we note in our review letter, there was a question that came up during the preliminary review in terms of the density and whether or not this is an appropriate density for the site, understanding that currently the zoning is industrial. We noted that to the south, the Estates of Hutsfield is approximately 2.9 units an acre. And to the north, the vacant land that is zoned RO3 could be developed at up to 3 units an acre. This project specifically is about 1.88 dwelling units per acre, so it's slightly lower than both of the surrounding properties either are being developed or could be developed. And given that, and given the township's interest in residential density, we think that this is an appropriate amount of units on this property. As I mentioned, we've gone through the conceptual review. We've also gone through the preliminary phase, and the Planning Commission held the public hearing for that, for the project. And ultimately it was approved for preliminary review at the end of 2018. You recently approved a site plan extension when the property changed hands back to its original owner. And so we're considering this plan within that updated timeframe. There are a few elements I think that are worth noting remaining from the preliminary review. It was discussed that there should be a crosswalk across Griswold Road that would connect this development to Deer Haven. As the plans show, both of the entrances align. And so as long as the road commission is comfortable with a crossing, we think it's appropriate and should be installed. Another item that was requested during the preliminary review was an impact assessment on how any decks or patios or hot tubs or anything along those lines would fit within the building footprint. We think that should still be provided. What we're running up into from an administrative standpoint is that these plans note the building envelope and they show an anticipated building footprint in concept. But there are certain instances where there is an easement located behind the anticipated building footprint, and it's not particularly clear where a resident could or could not build a deck. And so we think that that information should be illustrated, at least in concept, on these plans, so that we don't run into unhappy residents once they purchase a lot, build a home, and then find out that they can't put a deck on the back. So that is one thing that we think needs to be cleared up. Final comment from the preliminary phase, there was a contribution agreed upon for $15,000 to the township's 11-mile park fund. We think that it is wise to broaden the scope of where that contribution could be applied to and just have it be instead directed to the township's overall park fund. In addition to those elements, we have a couple of things that are noted that that I think are important to highlight. There is an easement for stormwater in the Estates of Hutsfield that is right, I'll say south of Unit 5 and Unit 6 on the Greystone project. And the applicants are proposing a sidewalk there. But because this is a stormwater easement on the other side, it's likely never to be built or constructed as a sidewalk in that area. And so we feel that this portion of the sidewalk in the Greystone project is unnecessary and won't go anywhere and could be deleted. The other note in our review is something that I've employed in other communities where there's potential for pedestrian and railroad conflict. And I have an example in our review letter in terms of a zigzag of fences, if you will. Essentially, I'll put that up on the screen for those of you who may not remember. Essentially, our goal here, running into a slow computer, I apologize. essentially our goal is to signal to pedestrians that they are indeed crossing a railroad track. And I know that that seems self-evident in some instances, but there have been instances where pedestrians may be on a bike and have a set of earphones on and don't hear that a train is coming and could potentially have some catastrophic event there. So we think that a relatively low cost and easy to install mechanism would be something like this, where a pedestrian is forced to navigate a system of fences to alert them to that railroad crossing. I really apologize. I don't know what's going on with the computer here. I'm going to stop sharing. In terms of those elements that I've discussed, I think the project is in good shape. The plan development agreement Carol has been working on, and I know Leslie has been working on. I owe a few comments, but in terms of all the documentation that's required by the ordinance, it has been provided in at least draft format, and I think they're in good shape there. So based on all of that information, we think there are a couple minor items to clean up, but other than those, we are recommending approval of the final PD. Take any questions that anybody might have. I know the
Thanks,
applicants are
Brian.
here and Leslie's here.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Brian?
No.
No. Brian, I have one question on the, I guess I'll call it pedestrian speed bump by the railroad tracks.
Mhm.
Is that something that would be on both the north and south side of the tracks?
I think if it's something that we're interested in, we could, well, the township could either build it itself in the future, or we could ask that of another applicant if that comes down the line in the future. It certainly wouldn't be something that we would require as part of this development since it's off-site, but.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. All right, no more questions for Brian. Leslie.
Thank you. I'd like to refer to our February 3rd review letter, and I'll try not to repeat the items that Brian mentioned. We have a couple of duplicate comments in here. So I'll just start with item number 3. We note that the groundwater levels are elevated project-wide. There's a high groundwater table in this area. It appears that the finished grades of the homes may need to be lifted to ensure basement foundations and stumps will not be located within the water table. We have discussed this with the applicant, and we will review this in more detail during the detailed engineering phase, which is actually occurring right now. The applicant did elect to submit their detailed engineering while they're going through the plan development final process. Then I'd like to refer to item number 5. Since more than 26 units are proposed, a secondary water main tap will be required for the engineering standards. We also note in item number 6 that the Griswold Road frontage of the project is proposed to be densely landscaped and appears to show plantings within the township sanitary sewer easement. We're recommending that revisions to the landscaping plan be made to eliminate plantings within the easement as much as possible, especially of large trees. Brian mentioned the crosswalk at Deer Haven, which was one of the township board's motion. Item number 8, we note that the project includes a 50-foot long boardwalk along Griswold Road. I'm personally not a fan of boardwalks when they can be eliminated due to the future maintenance costs that your residents will have when at some point they need to be replaced or repaired. They're very expensive to build and to maintain. I do understand from the applicant that the reason, and they're going to speak on this, I'm assuming, but my understanding is the reason the boardwalk is proposed is really more of a timing issue, because if the applicant proposes to fill that area, it becomes a major wetland permit, and those take 6 to 9 months. So it is, I think I would recommend that the boardwalk be eliminated. I would not have an issue if we called that a future phase or something, so it allows the development, if it's approved, to move forward with that exception and that follow behind. Just want to note that. And then also, item 10, this is a comment that Brian did touch on. The township board did have a motion that they requested a plan showing the footprint of a morning room, a deck, and a patio to be submitted so that they could see that these amenities could fit on the lots. And we note on item number 11, there's a very minor modification that is required to the forebay, which is the sediment basin. There's room on the site. I don't have any issue that the applicant can make that modification. So overall, we don't have a significant number of concerns, and we have no issue if the planning commission takes action tonight, condition on our review.
Okay. Thank you, Leslie. Any questions for Leslie? No questions. Leslie, do you know the wetland evaluation was stated August 2018? Is that, how long is that good for? Is that expire, or they only have, does it change over time?
They can change over time. I doubt that this has, and if it's an issue, even for a boardwalk, the applicant is required to get an Eagle permit. So Eagle will visit the site as part of any permit and make a determination if what's shown on the plans is accurate or not as part of their review process. It's a little bit old, but not significant, and there hasn't, other than Deer Haven west of them, there hasn't really been a lot of change to this area. So I would not expect it to increase the wetland footprint itself.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Carol, did you have anything for us?
Nothing other than we're working on the PD agreement, and we'll finish that up in the near future.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Applicant, who's here tonight?
Good evening. My name is Bill Anderson. I'm with Atwell, and Joe Score from Pulte Homes in Michigan is also here as well.
Okay, give name and address, please.
Yeah, Bill Anderson. I'm with Atwell. My address is 311 North Main Street, Ann Arbor, Michigan, 48108.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Do you have a presentation for us?
Yeah, sure. I'll try to be brief, but it's been a while, so I figured I can share the screen. Everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, good evening. First, it's been a while. I haven't been to line for a while. It's nice to see everybody, and Happy New Year and all that good stuff. And this project's been around a while. I've been involved now with Pulte at this final PD approval stage. So we're here tonight and glad to see everybody. So just kind of go through our development team again. Pulte Homes wasn't the original applicant, but they're the land developer and the home builder on the project. So that's going to be our development team. Just a little bit on the time frame. As I said, this was eligibility. It's less than 40 acres. So it got eligible in the fall of 17. And the preliminary PD zoning approval was approved in September of 2018. And it was approved with 37 single family detached units. And it was zoned PD from the original light industrial. As I think Brian, the planner's letter said, very little has changed since then, the plans you see today. And we submitted our final PD plans that you're looking at tonight in January 11th. So Griswold's a county road, 2-lane road. This is kind of just the area. We're vacant land to the north of us. To the east, we got the railroad tracks. It's Chesapeake, Ohio Railroad, mostly vacant. There's a manufactured housing community to our southeast. To the south is the estates at Hutsfield. Everybody is aware of a single family subdivision to the south. And to the west is some single family homes and some smaller developments as well, mostly residential. property is fairly oddly shaped, triangular parcel, as you know, 29 acres. We have the regulated wetland in the middle, which really creates a challenge. And we have 2,000 feet bordering along railroad tracks, and about 1,750 feet of frontage along Griswold. So pretty interesting and challenging site. Again, we have a centralized forested wood wetland that is regulated. So that's our property. It was zoned, this is your 2015 map. It still says zone light industrial. That's been changed to PD. And then the future land use map for the township calls this single family residential B. And as Brian indicated, that's in densities slightly more than what we're proposing today. So we're certainly in conformance with your future land use plan this project is. Just a little summary on the project. Again, 29 acres, 37 single family for sale homes, what we're proposing. Our lot sizes vary because we got a nice curvilinear roadway, nice boulevard entries, but it's about 63 by 120 deep is a minimum. Again, nice landscaped boulevard entry, curvilinear road that comes around. We have a little park open space pop. So when you come into the development, you'll see that, a little internal park. We have over 51% open space on this development, and that's about over 12.5 acres of upland. And then we still have the 2.2 acres of wetlands. So a substantial amount of open space on this project. As far as pedestrian infrastructure, these will be public roads, of course, sidewalks both sides throughout the residential community. We're connecting to the development to the west, not east, I apologize. We're proposing a sidewalk connection. I'll talk a little bit more of that in a minute. And on Griswold, we're proposing the 10-foot asphalt pathway. It'll connect to the existing path to the south and head up to the north end of the railroad tracks at the north end of our project. So significant amount of tracks. Just to speak to that a little bit, yeah, your planner indicated there's a sidewalk proposed to the south side. We concur that we should eliminate that sidewalk. It doesn't really interconnect. There's nice pedestrian pathways along Griswold, so we concur with your planner. And future revisions of our plan would eliminate that little stub to the south. As far as a pedestrian path up to the railroad, what I've done is I'd like to just pull that path back a little bit. I know he showed a picture of kind of an urban switchback unit there. I appreciate some type of an alert system for pedestrians or bikers that are coming along the path to know they're coming into something. I'd like to put a little sign, path end sign at that end, and put a couple of plantings there right in front of that pathway system to alert those folks that that's the end of the pathway. So that would be kind of a proposal to on the north end of the site. Again, we can work that through on final. As far as the home elevations, they were included in the plans, but we got some high quality exterior building materials, a lot of nice roof lines. These are 3 to 4 bedroom single family homes. Our square footages are in the 2,400 to 3,200 square foot with nice contemporary layout and high end finishes. Again, these elevations were included in the plans. Again, really nice looking product. Just a little bit about the rear yard exhibit. I know there was a lot of talk about that originally, I guess. And this is kind of a little exhibit. I have a blow up. You'll see the blue area. Every lot has the capability for a deck to be in the rear yard. But as typical on lots, I'll show you a little blow up area. Our lots are 120 foot deep. So what that creates is a building envelope on every lot that you put your home in, and you can put a 65 foot deep home in that. I got a 25 foot front, a 30 foot rear. So that allows you to build your home in a 65 foot envelope. And then again, the 30 foot in the rear, this is generally a 20 foot easement in the back. So that allows, and that's shared across the property line. So that allows you about 20 feet into that rear setback. So there's plenty of space. Our deepest home product is 60 feet. So that's 5 feet inside the building envelope. Plus I have about 15 to 20 feet for extra deck area into the rear yards outside of easements. Again, when you do residential development, you always have rear yard drainage. So you always have a storm easement area there. And the configuration of the depth of the lot, the 120-foot deep, allows a very generous housing product and a very generous deck construction on every lot. And just so you know, when Pulte goes in for every building envelope, they actually lay the house out and do a lot fit and show where the deck goes and shows all the easements on every lot and shows that it conforms with the geometry of the lot. But just so everyone knows, all these lots can have an ample deck provided just because of the lot size that's with this development. Just a little bit on the Griswold pedestrian crossing on the left here. We're going to propose that we have to work with the road commission. That's their road, but basically it's going to involve a couple of signs, a warning sign about a crossing ahead, nice big crossing over to Deer Haven, and there'll be signage on each side. So that would be kind of the crossing proposed on Griswold, and we're pleased to do that improvement. As far as public benefits associated with this PD, it was mentioned earlier, there's a contribution to the 11-mile park fund. There's the addition of the crosswalk on Griswold, the Deer Haven Drive, which is the development just across the street from us. The most important and meaningful thing is we have over 12.4 acres of permanent open space that we're creating as part of this development. So again, pretty excited about the open space development of this site. We have almost 5 acres of land, which will be right away. It'll be granted to the road commission as part of this development as well. So pretty significant land up contributions as part of this project. That's what I have, folks. And again, I'm around for questions, as is Joe Score, Vice President at Pulte.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions for Bill? Patricia?
What kind of, yeah, Bill, what kind of plantings are you suggesting down by that railroad? I guess that part I don't understand.
Like an arborvitae, I wouldn't want to do a big tree because eventually you're going to want to move it if they're because right now there's no transportation to the north, right? It's basically a dead end. So I would just put like a pathway end sign in the middle and put a couple of plantings just to demarc the end of the north end of the pathway. I know what Brian said. I'd seen that in downtown Kalamazoo. It's kind of an urban switchback thing. The problem is that's truly just for walking. It's cumbersome with bikes. So I would like to just do something as simple as that, Patty, at this time.
I have to think about that. I don't know.
Yeah, Mr. Conflitti,
Okay. Mr. Chuck?
for the applicant, what price range are you looking at for these homes?
Go into that one.
Good evening, Joe Score with Pulte Homes of Michigan. So our base prices will be start in the threes, and we expect the fully delivered price with options, premiums, upgrades to be somewhere between $425 and $450, which is very similar to what we're selling at the Estates of Huddersfield.
Okay. And I do like, just as a comment, I do like the elevations. I think they're good looking. And again, it's a very tough piece of property. I totally.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks, sir. Bill, can you tell me on the pedestrian path? On the east side of the road, there's a ditch there that runs the length of Griswold. Is that your plan is to fill that in, or what? Where's the path plan to go there?
Relative to the ditch. You know, I don't know exactly, but we're proposing an additional right-of-way dedication, quite a bit of right-of-way dedication. So my assumption is that ditch will be within the right-of-way, and our 10-foot pathway will be on the new right-of-way. So it'll be on the outside. The ditch would fall between the 10-foot pathway and the existing Griswold. That's going to be the configuration. That'll be where it lands.
Okay, all right. And then the, you said 60-foot depth on the, how's it?
Yeah,
How,
all the lots are 120, right? So I have a
Right.
25-foot front and I have a 35-foot rear. So that allows our house to be 65 foot deep. And all the homes that you've seen that Pulte's proposing to build are in the 40 to 60 foot range. So even the largest home, you have a 5-foot capability for a deck. Okay. Now most decks are 10 to a real big one's 15. I got a nice 12-footer on the back of my house. Pulte generally builds a 10-foot deck. But within that, so in that 30-foot backyard, we have a 20-foot easement that sits 10 on our one yard and 10 on the other. Almost every lot in this development has an easement around their backyard. And that's pretty typical. You have swales and storm sewer in the backyard to collect stormwater. So that you got that 10-foot easement. So that even if my house went to the back of it, I got 20 foot that I could build a deck.
What about homes that put a sunroom on the back? Because that'll add 10 to 15 feet, wouldn't it?
I think
So let me just, Bill, let me
yeah,
just,
go ahead,
let
Joe.
me just answer. So I think Bill mentioned the maximum depth of our homes is the base house is approximately 60. The depth of the homes that we're proposing range between 45 and 60 feet, 60 again being the maximum depth. A sunroom is approximately 10 foot in depth. So, you're looking at approximately on a typical house of a depth somewhere in the vicinity of 55 to 65 feet. And if it doesn't fit, of course, we're not going to offer it.
All right. Okay. All right. One more question. In Hutsfield, there's a couple homes where the garages and driveways butt up next to each other, which we've always thought that's not a great idea. Are we going to see that in this development?
So I think you're just talking about the handing, whether it's a left hand or a right hand.
Yeah.
I think it does vary, but I think it's also dictated by the grades. So I think it's possible. I can't, sitting here today, I'm not sure where or when it's going to happen or how frequent it's going to be, but it's possible that it could happen. Again, depending on the grades.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bronco, did you have a question?
No, the only thing I agree with Patty. I remember going to the planning commission meetings before I was a commissioner, and I like the idea of being able to do the switchback because reality for me is when I grew up, I crossed railroad tracks all the time, and probably not the smartest thing to rip over a railroad track on your bike anyways. So I do like the idea of potentially leaving the switchback in and continue it all the way to the tracks. Other than that, I like the plan. I like the elevations. I like Pulte homes, so.
You know how much bike trail or sidewalk is along 9 Mile? Leslie, I've got Google Map up. Can you see? Because I see what you're saying, Bill. Like when you stop there, then there's it looks like it's either 2 houses or 1 house. And then it's us.
Mm-hmm.
But that might be a good system for all those houses to get to 9 Mile to get into town. That'd be a nice bike ride. So I don't know. That's to think about that. But do you think we could put that $15,000 just into recreation instead of just saying it's the park? And the only reason I say that is I know they created this the downtown area created a really nice tried to do a Christmas display, and I don't know, maybe they would if it's just for a park, maybe it should be recreation, and then they could use it for maybe some other things. I mean, it's just wording for us. I appreciate the money that I squeezed out of Rick. by the way.
I agree with the money going to Parks and Rec. Probably to their general fund or whatever, however it's
Yeah,
denoted.
just as long as it says recreation too, just so that it can be used for whatever's good for the whole township, you know, not, it might be, I don't know, I can't think of anything right now, but it might be, I know they really tried hard for that Christmas thing. And,
But if I could add, Patty, the first thing that popped in my head when I was looking at the fence solution at the railroad tracks and the 15,000 for recreation, and now I'm not holding anybody's feet to the fire, but maybe it might be a solution with that 15 grand to make it a little bit more accessible at the railroad tracks, even afterwards. A soft landing on the other side that we could spend that money. That is recreation money.
Carl, I'm going to add that to our trail meeting with Leslie.
Okay.
Which is a good idea. I mean, I thought the same thing. So maybe we'll take a look at that for our meeting and add that, because Lisa and I and Chris and Laura are on the trails and the bike trails. So, but that would move a lot of residents into the city. You know, they could go for a Dairy Queen or eat, or you want to do that. But I don't know what's on 9 Mile. I'll have to.
Well, there's nothing, and that's why I asked what that new development.
That might be a good spot for us to consider in the future. And, you know, maybe the $15,000 we use it for that, and, you know, towards that. Or
I do also like the idea of broadening the language for, you know, as you
just
said.
so you can use it for, it might be sidewalks, it might be
I totally agree with that.
sports field, it might be, I don't know. It might be just for the park.
Ball diamonds that we spent all that money.
Yeah, yeah. But let me see. I think I had. And what about the pathway, Bill? How's that going to happen? What's happening with the asphalt?
Look, Pat.
Are you gonna go for that? Are you gonna try for the grant, or you gonna go to Eagle for that, or are you gonna build?
Yeah, we will do that. We like Leslie's suggestion. It's funny, Joe and I just went through that in another town where we separated a frontage path. So we're fine with that. We will eliminate that boardwalk, and I agree completely. You guys are starting to look at future maintenance obligations, and it'd be better not to have that. So we don't have any problem.
Yeah, it becomes a burden. I mean, it might not be for our time, but it would be in the future. Leslie, do we make them put up a bond for that? So we will. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So we're okay with it. Again, in accordance with. Sorry.
Of course.
Referencing Leslie's suggestion about making a future phase or obligation of future phase, we're okay with eliminating the boardwalk.
Good. Actually,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we might need to document that in the PD agreement. We'll work with Carol on that if we need to designate it show the difference on the plan, but I would recommend that the bond be posted before the phase 1 pre-con and just delineate the difference of what's to be constructed and what the time frame for the rest of the construction, something to that effect.
They're really cute houses. So I'm all for it.
Right.
I was for it before, and I'm all for it now. They'll do a good job. Pulte's always done a good job. But Bill's my favorite. That's what I always tell him. It's a joke, but not. I always tell him you're my favorite.
Who else is on this call?
I always say that. It's like a joke.
Ron, did you have anything for us?
Not really. I agree with everybody. I think they look nice. I'm in favor of the project. I do think that the path should go in sometime. I don't really know the right solution for at the railroad tracks yet, but I think that somehow we'll come up with something. But I think it should go up there.
All right, good deal. Thank you, Carl.
Yeah, I think I must still on. Yep. First, Bill, I want to say congratulations. Great presentation. You followed it through each step that we've been through. This consultants and this planning commission has worked a lot in this project, and I think we've come up with just a wonderful solution to that piece of property. And I'm glad to see Pulte on board. That's going to build some really cool houses there. Everything's been answered. I'm looking at 2 sheets of my notes, and the boardwalk settlement and the easement, I'm very, very happy with. Your explanation again, Bill, was perfect. I'd like to see something similar to that in the final that goes to the board on the whole project. I think that our density is as perfect as, we don't like to use the word perfect, but it's as good as we can get over there. And I think everybody's bent on that. But it's nice to have that industrial piece out. I think we have to keep that in mind. I'm very happy with the setbacks. The pathway, everything's been talked about. So my recommendation would be to approve to the board. That's all I have to say.
All right, was that a motion?
Sure.
It sounds.
If nobody else has anything to add, that would be my motion to recommend approval to the board with all the cool stuff we talked about tonight, and make sure that the documents are done for the easements and the PD, and everything's done before it goes back to the board.
I'll support that motion.
As well as that second phase with the boardwalk. I think that's an important point, but I think Kelly got that.
Okay, all right. We have a motion to recommend approval by Mr. Town, support by Mr. Chuck. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? All right, good. Congratulations.
Yep,
Good
good
job
luck,
on that.
guys.
Nice
Thank you very
project.
much.
Have
Thank
a
you.
good night. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Good job.
That's a 2. AP 20-42, Mojave Cantina site plan. Brian, take us away.
Thank
Por
you.
favor.
Thank you, Mike. And we'll see if I can get PDF Adobe to work here. But you're right. The plan, the next plan up for consideration is the replacement for Lion Cantina. Obviously, there was a bit of a catastrophic event there a couple of years ago, and so the replacement structure and parking infrastructure is going to be modernized as part of this project. The plan is to construct a 4,277 square foot building on the 0.73 acre site. It will be used for a restaurant. There's adequate parking. There's a pervious pavement patio out in front that complies with our ordinance as well. So it'll be a nice fit for that site. In terms of ownership information, we have all of the required documentation. We think that the building setbacks are appropriate, and we do note and this is our largest note for you on this plan, is the parking along the north property line is within the 10-foot setback. We just dealt with this on the Culvers project along Pontiac Trail as well. This is really the only way that parking fits on this site. I know Mr. Emerine is here this evening on behalf of the owner and can speak to this, but it has been investigated to death in terms of alternative solutions. We talked about potentially parallel parking here, which would then cause a parking shortage on the site. I think this is a good solution on a tight site, and so we're typically supportive of this, generally supportive of this variance request. Obviously, we'll have to go to the ZBA, and the ZBA will evaluate it based on their criteria. But it's something that we're willing to support from a planning and zoning perspective. That parking variance will also apply to the trash enclosure here at the northeast corner of the site. So if the parking variance is granted, the enclosure will comply. In terms of lot coverage, the overall lot coverage is being decreased from the existing conditions. And so we feel that that is appropriate for the site. Building height will be 25 feet 8 inches in compliance with the ordinance. The architectural evaluation we believe that it scores a good score based on our evaluation, so we're supportive there. In terms of dumpster location, we talked about the location. The screening is a composite material on the gate, which is something that we always talk about. The brick wall will match the structure, the main structure itself. There are no fences that are proposed as part of this. All of the HVAC equipment will be placed on the roof and screened as part of the architecture. The photometric plan has been provided, and we note that it complies with our 0.5 foot candle property limit, light limit at the property line, as well as our pole height limitation of 22 feet. There is a monument sign that is proposed here at an angle at the southwest corner of the site, and it is compliant with our sightline or our clear vision triangle requirements of the ordinance. There will be, we anticipate a building permit will be, or a sign permit will be pulled for that site element when it's appropriate, but we have no issue with the location. Based on the square footage, the usable square footage of this restaurant, we would anticipate 46 spaces, which are all provided here. We note, I do want to note that even though the drive lanes here are within the parking setback on the east side, we allow that. Same thing here with the south side. So we're really only concerned with the parking spaces themselves in that setback. There is a adequate loading space provided, and in the narrative, there are hours that are anticipated for deliveries, which would be before the start of business hours at 11 o'clock. No concerns there. We think that all of the landscaping is appropriate in terms of quantity and location. We have no concerns with the landscaping as proposed. We do want to note that all of the landscape material surrounding the sign that is proposed is planned to be low growing and should be maintained that way as things become established. The sidewalk is going to be installed along Pontiac Trail. If you're familiar with the site today, the existing parking lot is way out into the right of way, and so there's really not space for a sidewalk. Anybody who's navigating it as a pedestrian would be walking through the parking lot. This is a vast improvement. There is a 5 foot parking, 5 foot walkway in front of the site that will end here at Lillian Street and connect to the existing sidewalk to the south. So in conclusion, our only comment is relating to the parking in the north side. The north side parking setback that will require the variance. But other than that, we just defer to the other consultants in terms of items that they need cleaned up. But we find that this is compliant and recommend approval of the site plan.
Thank you. Any questions for Brian?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple here. Brian, in your letter, I believe I read composite wood for a dumpster enclosure. Should that not be,
gate?
Yeah, should it not be composite material? I mean, we did have one issue. I just want the applicant to realize and understand what our expectations are, number one. The other question that I had, and I should know this, I've eaten there enough. What about neighbors to the east? We talked at length when Culver's went in. How close is it to the neighbors? Do we need a wall back there? Which I don't think there's one currently there, if I'm not mistaken. Just have some questions about that. So maybe, go ahead, I'm sorry.
There is not a wall there today. I'm gonna drop the aerial in. What's interesting about this site is there's a 20-foot public alley back on the east side separating the parking lot from the residences. But looking back at the earth photo, you can see the remains of the previous restaurant. Right. It's a lot closer to the existing house than the new building is proposed. The new building is taking advantage of our 40-foot setback in the front. And so it's actually getting pushed away from the residential properties and towards Pontiac Trail. So,
All right, well, I mean, I was just concerned of noise and headlights as we, get into the winter months, and I'm sure hours of operation are going to dictate that. Just wanted to be sure that that doesn't become a nuisance.
It looks like their garage their house is, I can't see how their house is facing.
I see that now, Patty, yeah.
You see that? And so I think this is their garage, but I get it. I thought the same thing. I pulled it up on my Google Earth to see it. I can't figure out where, it so faces the front. Okay. Nice
And
house.
it looks like they've got some
Yeah,
extremely large and developed evergreens.
yeah. So that'll help. And it looks like a shed in the back. Oh, that's excellent, Brian. Thank you.
Yeah, that really is. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my only concern. And I guess, I don't, I guess if the homeowner is tuned into what's going on, they would probably confront us or talk to us. But I just wanted to be sure that, it would be okay. That's all. It's only one person, but we don't need to get anybody upset over a new building.
Very good.
That's all I have.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chuck. Leslie.
Thank you. I'd like to refer to our February 4th review letter. We note on the site plan that currently Lyon Township water main is not available to the property at this time. The applicant has left a stub for future water service, and we recommended the reuse of the well. However, I just wanted to let the Planning Commission know we are actually currently designing water main that would service this parcel. It's really going to come down to timing of the applicant's project on whether or not they tie into the water main, but we would certainly encourage it, and we'll work with them as they move through the process if we're going to be able to meet their time frame or not. So I did want to point that out. Regarding the landscape plan, the existing township sanitary sewer manhole in Pontiac Trail should be shown and labeled, as well as the location of the ADA spaces on the plan should be consistent throughout the plan set. So that requires a minor modification. I'd also like to note that a detailed engineering review is required should the Planning Commission approve the project, as well as capital charges for the sewer will need to be analyzed prior to a pre-construction meeting. This parcel did participate in the Southwest Sewer SAD. They did pre-purchase some capital charges. We would just have to analyze if it would cover the amount of seats that are proposed in the new building. So wanted to note those items that were not in our letter as well about the capital charges, so just so they're part of the record. But overall, we don't have any serious concerns with the project, and we recommend the approval as noted of the site plan.
Right, very good. Any questions for Leslie?
My hand is raised, Mike.
Yes. You have the floor. You have the screen.
So, hi, Leslie.
Hello.
So real quick explanation, it's just something that I want to make sure that's out there, is that, so they've got their own septic, and if they hook in, so if we approve this plan and they're on their own septic, what caveats are attached with when they hook up to the sewer? Does it change any of the grease trap, anything that collectors, or is there something that this applicant should have a list of that he has to make sure that is done when he's building that building, to be able to hook up to the new sewer system? I should say the water system.
Yeah, so this is the first step for the applicant, is the site plan with the Planning Commission, and then they'll go through the detailed review. They are proposing to connect to sanitary for sure as part of the project. So they will be required to do a grease interceptor, and I'd have to check and see if that's shown on the site plan, but even if it isn't, that would be required during the detailed engineering process. And it's typically about the size of a septic tank to allow the the waste to cool down from the kitchen service, because dishwashers and commercial operations are required to be so hot that they actually need some cooling time so that the grease can be detained, I guess, in this tank that comes underground. So we'll work with the design engineer to make sure that that's completed and shown on the plans.
Okay, perfect. I'd like to make sure that that's part of our minutes. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Carol, what do you have for us?
Nothing.
Okay.
Site plans, I never have any comments on site plans, so.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Applicant, step forward.
Hands up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello,
Yes.
Hello.
can you hear me?
Who is this, Phil?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hear you, but not see
Hello?
you.
Yes.
Okay, 1 second here, trying to,
Rob will get you taken care of. There we go.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You guys can see me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Phil Sapatores, the owner of the property there. I put together a presentation here, trying to bring it up on screen here to share with you guys. Just bear with me for a second, please. Seems to expired. Okay, it's not coming up.
Rob, is there anything you can do to help?
I don't know what, I know Phil is trying to share his screen.
Well, maybe Brian could pull that up. It is in our package, his
Yeah,
presentation.
It's the PowerPoint, yes, we do have it, Carl, right?
If you don't mind, Brian, and then Phil can talk through it.
Yep.
Thank you, Brian.
Phil, just let me know when you want me to flip to the next one.
I think we lost him again.
And
We lost.
and oh, he's coming back. If Phil continues to have trouble, I'll be happy to step in. But this is Phil's presentation, so hopefully he is able to connect. And
Hello? You guys see it?
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that. I lost connection for a second.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll just go through the slideshow here, and then you guys can ask me any questions. I appreciate you guys having me on here. So I own a couple other Mojave cantinas in the area, and I'm looking to get approval to open up a third location out there in Line Township.
Phil, we lost you. Looks like you're muted. There you go. Did you give?
There's the building elevation there.
Phil, hold on. Did you give
Yes.
your name and address?
I gave my name, my address.
Please.
Okay, 1221 Bauer Street, number 1092, Birmingham, Michigan, 48017.
All right, very good.
Okay, and then here's the elevation of the proposed cantina here. There we go. Thank you. And then the proposed top view here with the parking and the building envelope area there. Oops. Site plan view. And another site plan view here. Okay. That's the inside of the restaurant, showing the kitchen area, the prep area, the tables, the bar area. We're thinking about doing on one side and on the right side, a little banquet room for parties, private parties, birthday parties, showers, baby showers, whatever is needed. Possibly having some doors that open up to the outside patio from the bar area. The dining room on the left side there, and we're looking to build, a similar sized restaurant. We had to reduce the building size to accommodate all of the new zoning ordinances. So we were able to do that and meet the parking requirement for that site. Let's see here. Here's some existing pictures here of our other 2 locations that we have, and some of our food bar areas, outdoor dining. This is our Clawson location here. And then that's our White Lake location that just opened up last year as well. Some pictures of our food, our bar. Bottom left-hand corner is a picture of our banquet room. And we'll go to the next screen here.
That's all I've got, Phil, are those
Yeah,
10
that's it. Yeah,
pages.
I appreciate it. Thank you for doing that. Sorry, I'm trying to do this through my phone. I wasn't able to get in front of my computer at this time, but yeah, that's it. I think Lyon Township's a great community. I think the Lyon Cantina that was there before, I think people like a Mexican concept, so we decided to bring Mojave Cantina out there. If you guys would love us to have come out there, we would love to be there. So I'll hand it over to you guys with any questions.
Great, thanks, Phil.
And before we jump in, if I may, if it's all right, Mike.
Please.
My name is Jason Emerine. I'm with Sieber Keast Engineering. Address is 100 Main Center, Suite 10, Northville, Michigan, 48167. I'd just like to address a couple of the concerns that were brought up during the presentation, if I may. As Brian mentioned early on, the challenge with this site is meeting the new ordinances or the other ordinances on a site that was legal non-conforming before. Brian mentioned that there was a number of parking spaces up inside the Pontiac Trail Road right of way. The sidewalk cut through the parking lot. The objective that Phil gave to me early on in this project was, hey, I want to rebuild this restaurant. The previous restaurant was 4,483 square feet, and Phil wanted to rebuild the exact same square footage. The plan that we brought to you guys in, I think it was November, I submitted, it was before you guys for the December Planning Commission meeting, met that same building square footage that Phil had asked for. Initially, it was 4,483 square feet. That included some parallel parking along the northern property line. But with the maxing out the parking and the impervious surfaces, when we were before you guys, or supposed to be before you in December, we had a parking shortage of 15 parking spaces. At the time, we were going to ask for a variance on that. Phil and I knew that that was a huge issue. And we decided to pull the previous plan from your agenda back in December. Phil told me to go back to the drawing board, told me to meet the parking requirements, do whatever I can. And I told him that he'd have to sacrifice square footage in order to do that. So essentially the biggest change we had in the plan from before was we had parallel parking spaces along the northern boundary. We rotated them 90 degrees and we were able to add in a whole bunch of parking. That meant Phil had to shrink his building width by about 10 feet in order to fit in those perpendicular parking spaces. And he also had to reduce his usable square footage. So everything on this site is parking. So you'll notice we meet exactly the parking requirement required. That's not an accident. That was by design, and that's how everything was planned out on this site, was based on parking. Brian had mentioned that we are parking in the side yard setback. I did want to note that along our northern boundary, the property to the north is a city of South Lime property. It's not in the township. That I forget the zoning district. That is a B3 zoning district in the city of South Lime. They have existing perpendicular parking spaces on that parking lot to the north. If you look at the site plan, you will notice that our parking lot starts at the exact same spot that their parking lot starts, and it ends on almost the exact same spot. So we'll have a bunch of perpendicular parking spaces facing each other like we do in the middle of our parking lot. It'd be the same thing. We are aware that that requires a variance. That does not meet ordinance. We considered revising this plan and shifting our ingress and egress northerly drive and putting that along the property line. We could actually do that and provide parking perpendicular to the building and the other parking spaces out there and probably be compliant with the ordinance, but that doesn't make sense from a site logistics standpoint. I think it makes more sense to have parking spaces face parking spaces the way we have shown in our plan now. So that was the driver of this whole site plan. I believe it was Mr. Chalk mentioned the gate. We have no problem meeting whatever gate requirements you have. In fact, we did contact Mr. Kesey during this last review to ask him what was approved in the past, and it's a MiraTech composite. I think we threw the word wood in there. It's a composite material. It's a MiraTech. I think it's a faux wood. It has a wood grain to it, but we have no problem providing whatever requirements are needed there. There was also discussion about the neighbor to the east. Yeah, we are not proposing a wall or anything like that along the east side, or a fence or anything to screen the lights. It's my understanding that if I recall the zoning ordinance correctly, and I defer to Brian's expertise on this, but I think a wall was required if you provided parking within 20 feet of a residential property line. Well, it's just coincidence that that public alley is exactly 20 feet wide. So we did not provide a wall there simply because that existing 20-foot wide alley is there, and our drive lanes are 20 feet away from that property line. The applicant did consider going after and acquiring this public alley for his use. That's a year-long process. We talked to the road commission about it. That's a road commission public alley. It could take him a year to acquire that property, and he just doesn't have the time with his site plan to try to acquire that. And even if he did, and he provided a parking over there, he would have to keep his parking 20 feet away from that residential lot or provide a wall. As Leslie noted about the water main going in down Lillian, I believe it comes north on Pine Lake Trail and heads east on Lillian Street. Leslie and I talked about that. The applicant does, I think, want to hook up into the public water. It's a matter of timing, as Leslie indicated. We did show a water stub to connect to that in the future. The intent of showing the water stub is so Phil doesn't have to dig up his brand new building or his patio to connect to that public water main that's going to go down Lillian. The existing water well, I'm not sure if it was clear, is being abandoned. There is an existing well on site. We have to abandon that well. It's in kind of the northerly drive aisle. We have to drill a new water well. Obviously we're going to go through all those requirements at the Oakland County Health Department and meet all Leslie's requirements. But that tap does go in the northeast corner of the building. We're happy to reroute that water main tap to connect to that in the future off of Lillian Street if we need to. There was also discussion about grease traps and septic tanks and hookups. And did we think about this and talk about this? The answer to the question is yes. The existing restaurant has a grease trap out back. Then that grease trap goes to a septic tank, and then that septic tank goes to a septic field. All that's noted on sheet 3 of our site plan. We kind of have a peculiar sanitary lead design. Our intent here is to utilize the existing grease trap that's in the ground today from the existing restaurant. From that grease trap, our sanitary lead will head south and hook up to a new sanitary sewer pump that will be designed by Leslie's office. Phil is going to pay Leslie to design that pump to hook up into the existing Lyon Township force main at the intersection of Pontiac Trail and Lillian Street. The septic tank and the septic field will have to be abandoned. They will be taken out in accordance with Oakland County Health Department requirements. Most of that will get worked through at final site plan, and we'll definitely coordinate that with Leslie's office. That is kind of the end of all the things that I think were discussed. I hope that answered some of your questions. I'm here to talk about dimensions and parking spaces and all that fun stuff. Phil's here to talk about the restaurant itself, food service, amenities, so on and so forth. So I'll turn it back over to Mike.
Thank you. Thanks, Jason. Any questions for Jason? So the main entrance is in the back of the building, correct?
I mean, I defer to Phil on what he would consider the main entrance. I think the main entrance would be off of Pontiac Trail, the northerly entrance, if you will. The second entrance was to the south end of the site, but I believe all of Phil's signage is up front on the front of the building. So I think the main entrance would be off of Pontiac Trail on the north side there.
Through the patio? I don't understand.
Oh, you mean, I'm sorry. The main entrance I thought you meant to the parking area.
To the building,
Yeah, that's on the west facade, if you will. The doors are located kind of in the southeast corner.
East. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, guys. Patricia, did you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm excited for this, Phil. Thank you so much for coming back to Lyon Township. I want the Planning Commission to know and understand that Phil has had a big burden on this property to carry with his special assessment and with no relief because we couldn't grant him any relief. But remember, he's had no income on this and he's been paying his special assessment for the Southwest Sewer and Water. So I can't wait for your restaurant. I can't wait to eat in your restaurant. I absolutely love Mexican food. And I think you're going to do really well. And I am so pleased. And I just don't have any, I had a few concerns that Jim brought up was about the back. But when I looked it on Google Map, I feel pretty comfortable with that, and especially with that easement. So I'm really good with it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. Mr. Chuck?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, to the applicant, I really liked what I saw. Was it Clausen and White Lake?
Yes.
Those step above. I mean, that's it looks like a very, very nice place. So along those lines, this patio, will it be now? If I saw the Clausen location, that looked like outdoor dining with a roof. Now what are you're proposing here is more just of a patio with possibly umbrellas, or is there going to be an enclosed roof, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, at this time, I think we're just going to be doing umbrellas. Maybe have some doors that would completely open up to the inside. So you get some fresh air, outdoor feeling that you could be inside. But at this point, I would say just umbrellas outside on the patio. Maybe, if I'm not sure, in the future, maybe do some fire pits. We did have some in the picture from Clausen. We got approved here to have some fire pits out in front. If that's something that's permitted, we could do that as well.
No, I mean, the patio's fine. Again, what I saw in the two illustrations of the two other restaurants, I really liked it. A couple other real quick questions. Basically, how many occupants? What's going to be the seating capacity?
I believe it's 135, around 135. We did. Yeah, it's correct. Okay.
And then finally, getting back to the patio, I jumped out of order here. What I would like to see, and I know there's landscaping there, I would just like to see something attractive. I just don't want to see a little white picket fence or what have you. I'd like it to be a showstopper. I'd really like.
Absolutely. Whatever we do, we want it to be the best. We don't want to go out there and do something that's not appealing for our business. So we're going to try to do whatever we can, to attract as many people as possible trust me, we want to make ourselves look nice. You know, we have a good reputation here in Clawson and White Lake. We're not going to cut any corners with any of that.
And again, anytime, you know, we can take a building that through no fault of yours was non-conforming and bring it into conformance, and given the situation and how you hung in there, yeah, welcome, welcome, welcome.
I
That's all.
appreciate it.
Okay,
Hey,
very
Jim,
good.
one question or one answer for you in terms of the patio. One of the challenges here that Phil and Jason were working with is the lot coverage. They wanted to stay underneath the existing lot coverage so that any of the stormwater requirements didn't come into effect. And so that's one of the reasons that you see on, I'm sorry, I don't have the page number in front of me, but on the site plan, there's
Sheet
pervious
3.
pavers so that that patio can be considered pervious and not count towards the overall lot coverage. It's also the reason that the canopy that's over that or the awning that's over that is separate from the structure so that they can meet setback requirements. It's I think it's a good application here and a good workaround some of our setback requirements as well.
No, thank you. And I know you guys have done your homework and your due diligence, but thank you for the explanation, Brian. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, Mr. Chuck. Bronco.
I agree. I love the plan. It looks great. It's a great upgrade from the old building. To comment on Jim's concern at one point in Patty's about the wall, I thought about that early on. And I didn't think it needed a wall just because of the distance, since everything was, you know, with the alley. But I thought it might be a good idea to maybe throw a few arborvitaes in the little gap areas on the left and the right of that giant tree, just to help the resident. You know, it probably wouldn't cost very much to throw a half dozen or a dozen arborvitaes in, a few on each side, just so that there is no light pollution. But I would leave that up to my fellow commissioners to comment as well.
Okay.
I will add on for your consideration, and I'll let Phil comment on if he wants to do something to that effect. But we have no property available to do that. If we put trees or arborvitaes within the public alley, we would have to get permission from the road commission from Oakland County to do so. Phil doesn't have any room left on his property. We'd have to do a bunch of site plan revisions. That curb along our eastern property line is basically on the property line. That doesn't stop Phil from being able to talk to the neighbor to the east and maybe plant some arborvitaes on their property, but I would defer to Phil on that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem, you know, talking to that neighbor in the back and doing something on his property if he wanted. You know, arborvitaes, you know, they're inexpensive, so no problems at all. We can definitely put a half dozen arborvitaes there.
You know, if I could jump in on this point, it might be worth even putting them in the alley, and when you permit your new approaches, make that part of your permit submittal to the road commission. Considering this alley goes nowhere, they very well might permit it. And if for some reason in the future they're going to do something there, they would come out. But it's about 100% unlikely they'll ever do anything with that alley. So this is a situation they might permit a little bit of landscaping in their alley, and it would probably be a good measure for the neighbor. Just a thought.
Yep. Thank you. Ron, anything to add?
Yeah, I agree 100% with Bronco on that. I think there needs to be some kind of screening or something in that back just to keep the headlights out of the neighbor's yard and out of their windows. Other than that, I really like the building and excited to see it come back.
All right, very good. Carrolltown.
Yeah, I want to thank again the applicant for rectifying the situation with the parking spaces. Now, let us be reminded that still has to go to the ZBA. So any recommendation tonight would be contingent upon the decision from the ZBA. But you know, the first plan that was prepared to come before us didn't cut the mustard. I think that you have a very good working building with what you came up with to hit this number, that those parking spots that you're gonna need, won me over 100%. It's a great product. Hats off to our consultants and Jason for working on this project and getting it right. And don't forget that the dumpster's got to be included in that variance. So yeah, it's a great project. It's funny, I even went by that. I happened to be in Fraser on Thursday, so I took 14 mile all the way back to see your location in Clawson, and I liked it a lot. I've never eaten there. I don't go to Clawson a lot, but yeah, I think it's going to be a great asset to the community. I am surprised. I thought that the property next door must have been annexed then, because that used to be part of Lyon Township. I'm surprised that that's South Lyon. But keep in mind that with those parking spots extra, I don't think you're going to have a whole lot of overflow over into that business that's north of you. But in years past, they might as well close up shop on Cinco de Mayo because there was no parking on that site. So they just would all park on the site that's north of you. So somewhere in this journey, get to know the neighbor next door, just in case there's any issues. It sure would be nice to, buy him a taco once in a while. But with that said, I digress. I love it. And I think that, I think everybody on this planning commission, I can speak for that, loves the project and has no issues whatsoever with the setback, the zero setback on that, or 10 foot, I guess it is, on the north side of the property. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
Oh, Mike, can I comment?
Sure, please.
Carl's observation. Carl, we let that go into the city because their septic field failed and they needed sewer, and they needed sewer from the city. So that was King's Plaza. That was a long time ago. So we allowed that to go in the city. We couldn't provide it there. So that whole strip store would be not usable. So we did do that. We did allow that.
Okay. Thank you, Patty.
Just a FYI.
Yep.
Yeah.
And your building is beautiful, Phil. I didn't have an opportunity to say that either, but it's really sharp. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Patty, you're a wealth of knowledge.
I know what's going to happen when I retire. They tell you. But that's good to know about that King's Plaza. That's excellent.
All right, a lot of positive comments. Who would like to make a motion to approve this plan?
I got my hand up.
Yes.
Can I speak?
Please.
This is Stefan.
Stefan.
Hey, Steph.
Thank you for having me here today. I just want to let you know, even though, and I'm glad, Patty, you like the building. Me and my design team are taking a very special interest because this is my own backyard. I've known Phil and his family. I've done many works for him. I wouldn't want to disappoint him either, but we're really excited to be here. We're really excited to bring his product in here. And I make a personal guarantee that it's going to be done right. Because I'm going to be going there a lot when I get out of this hell. All right. So I hope it, Phil is really, when we first met, it was 10 variances and we were jamming a round peg in a square hole, but this is a great product and a great plan. And I think it's going to be a home run. So
can't wait to go.
Stefan, one question. What are the widths of the lot, parking spaces?
You're funny. Well, I squeeze as much as I.
Oh, he's cutting out.
We lost you.
Good job, Mike. You broke Stefan.
Yeah. All right. Stefan, if you can hear us, thank you.
I hear you. Can you hear me?
There you are.
Okay. So anyway, it's nice seeing all your faces, and thanks for having us and listening to us, and looking forward to moving on. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I said taco once in a while, Stefan.
Yeah, good to hear. Good to hear from you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please do.
AP-20-42 be moved forward based on the McKenna letter of 2/5/21 as well as the CES letter of 2/4/21. Also contingent upon the variances needed for parking. And did I hear correctly? There'd be a variance needed for the trash. Did I hear
Part of
that?
the same variance.
Okay,
Yep.
so contingent upon the applicant receiving those variances.
Okay, Mr.
That's
Chuck, very good.
I definitely support that.
Who is that, Carl?
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Mr. Chuck, support by Mr. Town. Any other comments? All those in favor? Oh,
Aye.
all those in favor? Aye, oppose? All right, congratulations. Good job, guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you everyone
Phil,
for your time. I
Jason.
really appreciate it. Special thanks
you.
to Brian and Leslie for helping me get through this. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
guys so
you.
much. Appreciate
You
it. Thanks
bet.
for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you soon.
Mr. Hoffman, thank you. Brian, AP 21-02, New Hudson Medical Site Plan, extension of approval.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You may recall approving a 12,000 square foot medical office building directly across New Hudson Drive from Pendleton Park. This is on the east side of New Hudson Drive, just south of Grand River. The project's owners are still intending to complete the project. It's associated parking and the sidewalk improvements and things that we spoke about before. However, the site plan expired on January 15th, 2021. We received the request to extend that site plan for another 12 months prior to that expiration. So they're within their ordinance rights to request that. We don't see that any conditions around this property have changed in any significant manner. We do have watermark that's going to go in north of the roundabout and ZOT as well, but this is a use that is highly complementary and can provide services to those new residents and all the existing residents. So we have no issues raised in terms of extending for another 12 months and allowing the applicants to proceed within the next year.
Okay, all right, very good.
Do we need a motion? Is that what we're looking for, Brian or Mike?
Yeah, just, well, Carol, is there anything to add?
No, it's just a request for an extension.
Okay.
They made it timely. So there was a lot going on last year and it makes
Sure.
some sense to give them a little more time.
Okay, all right. And I don't think, Leslie, you don't have anything for us on this?
No issue.
Okay, Mr. Chuck, take it away.
To approve and move forward AP-2102 based on the letters of McKenna dated 2/4 as well as CES dated 2/4, an extension on their site plan.
Very good.
Is that for a year? Year
Yeah,
extension?
for a year, a 1-year extension, correct.
Yeah, I'd support that.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Chuck, support by Mr. Town. Any other comments?
I'd just like to clarify what the year extension is. Do you want to go from January 15th, which was the expiration of 2021, or do you want to go from this evening's date?
If we can go from this evening, that's fine, Brian. If we have to go retro to the 15th, either way, whatever Carol says. I don't care. It's only 2 weeks difference.
Well,
I think
come up with a
your
date.
preference, Brian.
I think today is fine.
Maybe easier to track.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Yep.
My motion then, I'll make the decision is from today's date.
Okay, very good. Kelly, you got that?
I'm going to pull back my recommend. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Carol. Okay, we have a motion, we have support by Mr. Town, correct? Correct?
Yes.
You didn't. vote,
Yes.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? All right, very good. All right, Patricia, what do you have for us?
Okay, yes. We held our regular township board meeting virtual Monday, February 1st. And we had we had our reports, but then we had our fire chief did appoint 2 new lieutenants, I believe. And that was Brian Selneck. Sedlak. Right, no, Brian, I can't think of his last name. Starts with S. Anyways, Selnick. And then
Hoffmeyer?
Lisa's husband, Kelly Blades. So they got appointed. And then the chief and the board also, let's see, I want to see if that's an agenda item. We appointed a actual assistant chief, and that's Reggie Madeline, that the fire department we hired. And then our regular agenda item, we had unfinished business, and you can't believe how long we talked about. What do you think? It was so fun. Consideration of the adoption of the agriculture tourism ordinance. I can't, we talked. I'm like, you guys, it's like, this ordinance is like haunting us. But they did appreciate your changes, and they did approve them. I think it was 3 changes, right, Brian, that they agreed with. So it's like, oh God, Lordy, it's like
Groundhog Day.
quit talking about it. No. So anyways.
Patty, was
Yes.
it 100% agreement?
No, I'm really surprised. Lisa voted no.
Lisa.
She wanted screening. She wanted some screening language, but it was on 30 acres. And it's going to be and I told her so it's a special land use. So you can have them do screening. How are you going to know where it's going to be on the property?
Right.
So anyway, she voted no, but I think she was truly in favor of it. She just wanted some kind of screening. So we had the Woodside Overlay District. Oh, I'm so happy they approved that. I'm really happy for those people. Then under new business, we had the American Landscape Management Special Land Use, and they approved that. So I was happy about that. I know Carl was happy about that. Oh yeah, and then the approval of the appointment of the Assistant Fire Chief. That was Reggie Madeline. And then we had the consideration approval of 1-year contract with People Express. And that's where our seniors get to ride on a bus that's specifically designated for Lyon Township. And we are funding $20,000 because I guess they've been in the hole with our township, and they've been providing service to our seniors for a long time. So I was really glad the board agreed to that, and they're going to monitor to see how much really, like, I think if you're a senior, you pay like $2 or $4, depending on if you need assistance or not to get on the bus or something like that.
Carl, you and I can go for coffee on the buddy system.
Yeah, it's really a good thing for our seniors. They go shopping, doctor's appointments. I mean, there is a district. We have a district where it can go, but it's still really good for seniors, and they need that.
Annie, I don't want to interrupt you, but there was a thought before the meeting that I wanted to run by you. With that express, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing to have. Is there any way we can piggyback with them to make sure that our seniors are being contacted and have an avenue to get the COVID shot? Would they have some kind of a list or something that we could? I'd even volunteer to call them if I had to.
I don't know, Carl. That I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't
be able to do that.
I just worry about our seniors in our township, and I was wondering how we could get to them to make sure that they have an avenue to apply for that COVID shot. Because a lot of them don't have smartphones and access to the internet.
I think there still are, I think we just actually, it's weird that you brought that up today. We were just talking to John about the senior center. You know, we still fund part of the
Yes.
senior center, and Brian was discussing this today with us too. You know, I think we pay him, what, $18,000, Brian, a year? And I think we also kicked in some extra money for that. And I know there's still actively, I know this, a couple people are still working at the senior center. So I don't know what they're, you know, I don't know, but I can mention that to John.
Carl,
Yeah,
Carl,
and if anything does come out of it, like I said, I would
Yeah,
volunteer.
that's not
to
a
make
bad
phone
idea.
calls.
I signed my sister up. She's 75. I mean,
Yeah,
I just said, hey, you know, did your kids sign you up? No. So I you know, used her email address, but she, you know, still pretty sharp, but I know
Yeah.
there might be some people that aren't.
well,
But-
thank you. I
Well,
didn't want to
some people are
interrupt you,
getting
but I just
calls
thought it
from
was
their-
important to bring
their-
up.
some people are getting calls from their doctors like we did, but
Oh,
bring up
yeah,
a very
that's
good
true.
point.
Yes. Through their
Carol and I went
healthcare.
today for our
Yeah.
first application, and they called us. But I agree with you. There's some people that probably don't have a clue, and it's not a bad idea.
I'll mention it to John to talk to what's her name, Brian? Who's the head of our senior center? I can't remember her name.
It's changed.
Anyway.
I don't.
I know it because she was just on John's voicemail today.
Yeah.
Mary Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
well, thank you. Yep.
Yes, Cheryl.
So I'll have John mention that to her. I don't know how they reach out, or if they can reach out, or if they can help them in any way to make sure that they, you know, maybe even just a phone call.
Well, they send out a newsletter, so to
Yeah.
your point, between a newsletter and a phone
Yeah,
call.
or maybe even a call. You know, if they have numbers, they can just, you know, a couple of them call them and just say, hey, did you sign up? Maybe we can help you with that. So I'll mention that to John. It's a really great thing, Carl.
Great, thank you.
Mhm. And then let's see, we approved, it's odd, but we approved 3 like separate contracts for the sheriff's department. And what they were is, the first one was these are all for the SROs in the schools. So the first contract was taking 2 of the SROs out. The second contract was adding 1 of the SROs back in. And the third one was just for us to get money through the CARES Act.
Yeah.
So we had to have a resolution for the county or the state. So those were those 3. Then we had the adoption of the restaurant relief that Tina put together, and Carol, they all worked hard on this. Still allowing them some flexibility with heaters and tents and, you know, greenhouses and that kind of stuff. That's another ordinance or that Carol helped put together. It's like an interlocal agreement between the county and us and the restaurants. So Carol did a really good job on that. And then we had the consideration of approval of use of revocable license for restaurant equipment to obtain through restaurant relief programs. And this is authorizing, now that's the one, Carol, you prepared, right?
Right.
Where they kind of, we got the equipment. We got $37,000 from Oakland County. Oakland County, in their budget, approved a $3 million grant to local restaurants and bars. And with that, we were able to secure $37,000. What the county did is, instead of giving the equipment to the restaurants, they gave the equipment to us. And now we have to loan the equipment basically out to the restaurants. And Carol provided like a hold harmless for that in case it gets rocked or that kind of stuff. So that was the next resolution that we had. And then we had a discussion about packet deadlines at the board level. Sean brought that up because I think he was a little upset that his packet got there on Thursday for the Monday meeting. And anyways, I think everybody tries to do their very best. I'm really appreciative that you guys don't really complain too much because it's difficult. And I know Carol mentioned this. Sometimes we don't have control of every single thing the way we wish it would come in. Like the 3 sheriff's agreements, they came in right before right before our meeting, like a couple days before. So they got them in the packets, but okay, of course, the whole agenda item didn't get to go out like Monday, I think, when it normally goes out. But you got to understand, we are still so busy at the hall. I wish people could understand the things that are going on there. And Michelle really does a wonderful job. And and even, sometimes we're waiting for a letter from Brian, but I always feel it's my job to read it and look it over and visit the sites, which I know you guys are really good about. Sometimes I have to do it on the weekends, but you know what? I don't mind. Other people might feel different, but I just feel I'm still privileged to be elected at the township and be on the planning commission. I don't like to complain about the packets because it's not as easy as everybody thinks. And if you look at, some review letters, what Carol and Leslie and Brian do for us, I probably pull all my hair out, So my job is to read it and look into it and call Brian. Plus, you can call us anytime. I always answer my phone to anyone. If it's the weekend, if it's nighttime, if it's, I really do. And I think Michelle does too, and John does. So, you guys are really good about it. But I know everybody wants to do better to try to give you more time to study the plans and look things over. So he was a little grumpy about it. So anyways. He might have been a lot grumpy, but oh, you guys
So
are,
if you're watching Sean,
yes.
straighten up.
All right. I was kind of mean to him. To say the least. She's not talking to me, I'm sure. You just want to understand. I mean, Jill went on a vacation on top of it. And she goes, it's my fault I didn't get everything out. I did the best I could, but she deserved to go on a vacation too, But I don't know how to do the packet. So Michelle does a great job. She does. And everybody that sends their stuff, they do a great job. But we're not perfect. So, and we have a lot of cool stuff going on. Look at our agendas and all the big buildings we've done, and now a few subdivisions, a new restaurant. Ooh, I'm so excited. Anyways, that was our agenda. Can I say, margaritas, let's go.
Okay. Thanks, Patty.
You're welcome.
Very good. Always a good report. All right. Anything else?
No.
All right. Someone step up, Mr. Chuck.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Support.
By the way, who took 816?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys intentionally talked really slow just so I couldn't win this. I
I
know.
didn't know you guys were betting. 'Cause I got in at the last second.
Yeah, you just gotta find me to collect.
You can bet $5 and win 275. Yeah.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? All right. Good job.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
See y'all.